On April 30th, 2022, 8 students of the Paris Institute of Technology for Life, Food and Environmental Sciences, or AgroParisTech, gave a speech at their graduation ceremony. It was a special day for them, as they were graduating from one of the leading French graduate schools in agronomy, environment, life science, and food technology. But these young men and women took that opportunity to send a message out. Loud and clear, they said they were not proud of their degree. They said that they feared their future careers would contribute to destroying the planet, and they announced their decision to branch off, to refuse the path they were told to pursue. In other words, they intended to boycott the agrotech industry altogether. In just a few hours, the speech traveled the world through social media. It reached tens of thousands of other young students who felt the same way. All of them strongly believe that higher education systems need to adapt to the climate crisis, and they need to do it now. Welcome to The French Teach, a podcast by Campus France, where we tell you all about French academic excellence, specifically in new, innovative, and cutting-edge fields of research and education. We'll bring to you interviews with scholars, students, alumni, entrepreneurs, researchers, and all of the voices of those who might help you orient yourself in your career and academic choices. On this episode of The French Teach, we're diving into the way France is adapting its higher education system to the pressing issue of climate change. Whether it is in climate-related fields of research or at some of the top business, political science, engineering, and management schools in the country, structures are being created in order to encourage scholars and students from different fields to interact and collaborate with one another. Behind this transdisciplinary strategy is the idea that any response to the climate crisis has to be collective. It starts with understanding the ways in which we can collectively transition into more climate-friendly societies.
What is transition? What is behind that word? And when we understand exactly what we intend when talking about transition, then we can better work on finding solution in order to transform the society, the organization, the technologies to tackle this question of trying to stay beyond 1.5.
This is Nadia Maizi. She's a professor of applied mathematics at Mines Paris, one of the biggest engineering schools in France. Nadia herself graduated from Les Mines in 1992 after coming to France from Algeria.
So I was born and raised in Algeria, and I came to France for my studies. So I discovered a new country. And then I continued to travel because I went to the US for my postdoc position. So that made me first, I think, very open to the world. And then about the different disciplines, I was passionate about mathematics, so I began in pure mathematics master. And then I entered this engineer school where I work today, Mines Paris. And after the school, I was not willing to work, but I wanted to study more. So I decided to make a PhD on control theory.
Nadia Maizi then went on to study computer science and robotics at Stanford University in California. She's now the director of the Chair Modeling for Sustainable Development, a project where prospective modeling provides tools for the dialogue in the energy and climate fields between decision makers, experts, and scientists.
So when I entered the lab that I had today, I proposed to develop an application on energy issues. And from energy, after several years, we jumped into the climate issue because we were developing modeling approaches based on optimization, which is a branch of the mathematics. And it was interesting in the short term, but also we were willing to see what scenarios could bring in order to enlighten the future in the long term. So we developed a prospective approach based on this very French philosophical approach of perspective. And so all of this has, I would say, very naturally brought me to mix a lot of disciplines because I'm an expert in mathematics, but I went to astrophysics and astronomy and energy. And then I was interested by economy. And I've seen the American people working also because I was in the Silicon Valley at the very beginning of the internet. And so that made me understand that creating new projects, even if you fail, is just a very nice experience.
In 2022, Nadia Maizi created a very ambitious project, and it definitely has not been failing. In fact, it's been met with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm. Attached to Mines PSL Graduate School, she launched an interdisciplinary, climate-focused research institute.
I had the good opportunities, the release of the IPCC report, and I was member of IPCC, the need of developing a new project related to climate change for the funding people that wanted to give money to our institution. The fact that the students were willing to find more sense in their professional life. And so they wanted to have more education related to this question. The fact that researchers were themselves asking for a new orientation, maybe for their career. And so this was a perfect mix for me to come with my little project and to make this institute work today. I think this is also the genesis of the project of the institute, because I had this in mind since a very long time, how to mix all the preoccupation regarding the future that we were developing in our own lab with these prospective modeling approaches, the question of climate change, the fact that I really believe that everybody has today to work on this project and to forget the rest. And it's not a catastrophic point of view, but it's more constructive point of view. It's a very big challenge. And so we need to be all together in order to tackle it. So it's very simple.
The institute is called the Transition Institute 1.5, as in 1.5 degrees Celsius.
The genesis of this institute comes from last IPCC report and the injunction to act now. And we can see it as an answer from scientists to propose to gather all their research, which are more in specific disciplinaries areas, and to propose this interdisciplinary view in order to tackle the question of the transition. And what transition? A transition to a trajectory aligned with the 1.5 degree Celsius objective.
At the Transition Institute, there is no doubt the solution needs to be collective, and it needs to encourage everyone, researchers from dozens of different fields, to sit around the same table.
If you are familiar with the research environment, and if you know researchers, you know that you cannot manipulate any researcher, and you cannot bring him to an interdisciplinary project if he's not willing to. So the question we had was how to get all the people in our institution involved in that project. And this is why we decided to create this institute as a structure that we named a beyond walls structure that had to be inclusive for the researchers inside the institute, but also that has to be open to the outside world. And we needed to make this enough attractive in order to bring these researchers coming from very different disciplines to work together in specific projects. So what is attractive for a researcher is to get a PhD student or a student that can work with him on his ideas, creative ideas. And so we raised funds in order to offer to these researchers the possibility of hiring these students. You can bring something with your specific domain, even if you're very specialized, and you can mix what you bring with another discipline. For instance, I can give you one subject of the first PhD thesis that we have funded. One of them is concerned with artificial intelligence.
So why is interdisciplinarity so important in your opinion?
A lot of people have a lot of solutions in order to try either to mitigate our greenhouse gases emission, either to adapt ourselves to the new environment we are living in. But sometimes they don't consider all the externalities that can be induced by these choices. And so we can have a situation where a solution of some become the problems of others. We have seen many examples regarding that point. For instance, you might be aware that in the north, we have decided to electrify a lot our usages. And this has a consequence of using resources that mainly are located in the south, like minerals, specific minerals. And this implies a lot of political instabilities, question of work of young children in mining areas, a lot of pollution issues also. And these questions must be faced by everybody because the question of tackling climate change is a global question. And we really need to add every expertise in order to have a right answer to that issue.
Listening to Nadia Maizi and understanding the roots of her project helps to realize something important. A collective answer can't only be transdisciplinary, it also has to be international.
It became very obvious that one region is very impacted by climate change and doesn't contribute much to climate change today or historically, which is Africa. And maybe because I'm from North Africa, that was attractive to me. And we have developed and we are trying to develop the first collaborations with this continent. We went into Senegal last year. We spent 20 days and tried to meet all the actors of climate change, the universities, the NGOs, the government. And this year we have organizing our second very big event, which is a forum in May, the 29th. And it will be dedicated to Africa and to the African insights to climate change. Insights that will be brought by African people, African researchers, representatives from different institutions. So this is our first bridging the gap with Africa, and not in a way where we will explain them how to do things, but much more in a way where we have a lot to learn from them And specifically, I really believe that in terms of adaptation, Africa has a lot of experience because they are facing these questions since many decades now. And so they can really bring us a lot of experience. And so something like creating an international place to think about the question of climate change and of the future was very clear in my mind, because I really believe that you cannot pretend that you can say anything about the future of China from Paris, for instance. And that's that's something that a lot of people are doing, even if everybody agrees with this consideration. Just saying that I had this idea, and then I think that this institute allows me to make the synthesis of all the expertise that I have built over the years regarding my career and all the curiosities I had. I think it's very nice to have them gathered here. And I think I can say that that was the kind of training I was dreaming of when I was young, but I didn't find it. So now I have the opportunity to propose it to the students, and I feel very happy of being able to do that. And what we believe is that the diversity of countries that can be represented among our students and among our researchers is very important, because, as I said, we're not facing a problem that can be solved by some that could be more intelligent or more with more clear ideas about the problem. But we really need to confront very different points of views, to take into consideration very different cultures, way of lives, values, norms, etc., in order to deploy a solution dedicated to specific areas, and which can be very diversified, I believe.
You're listening to The French Teach, a podcast by Campus France. In order to show you another example of a transdisciplinary approach, we need to take you to the very edge of the European continent, the most western point, where the land reaches furthest into the Atlantic Ocean. And be prepared, you better put some boots on and bring a good rain jacket, because we're going to the rainiest city in France.
So I'm Anne-Marie Tréguier, and I'm a physical oceanographer working in Brest in a lab that is called Physical Oceanography and Oceanography from Space lab. And I am also the director of the university school Usbek. So I suppose we are going to talk about it today.
Absolutely. So can you specify where Brest is for people who don't know?
In France, Brest is the last stop before you go to the USA. So that's the most western part of France, which is called Brittany. I'm originally from Brest, and so I have been very interested in oceanography because when I was young, I visited the Ephemer Center, for example, and I was really amazed by the science that was being done there. And I always wanted to be a scientist, so oceanography was kind of natural for me.
Usbek, the school directed by Anne-Marie Tréguier, was launched in 2019, and it's made up of different partners. Among them, UBO and UBS, two universities of Brittany, several engineering schools, but also some leading research institutes like the CNRS, the National Center for Scientific Research, and Ephemer, which Anne-Marie mentioned visiting as a kid, a very important oceanographic institute also based in Brest.
The idea is for both the universities, but also the engineering schools. Sometimes it's difficult to understand this difference in the French system between engineering schools and universities. But here in Brest, there is a very strong collaboration between both with joint curricula. And so East Blue is a place where you can have the best of both worlds, I would say, in terms of engineering schools and universities, to study the ocean and the coastal environment and societies that live on the coast. So East Blue is an international, interdisciplinary graduate school for the Blue Planet. And interdisciplinary is really the key word. The ocean is really a subject where people come together and need to come together. I mean, it's not, East Blue is not a school about physics or a school about biology. It's a school about the ocean and coastal space. And ocean and coastal space, I mean, you need the expertise of the different disciplines to tackle an object like that. We wish to attract international students at the master level. Because the school is interdisciplinary, students may come with almost whatever bachelor degree possible, like somebody having a bachelor in law or a bachelor in geography, in economics, in physics, in biology, in chemistry, in technology. Everybody, I would say, is welcome. What we provide are really different curricula tailored to the specific challenges of different disciplines. We do not provide a training for somebody who would be an ocean generalist, but rather, for example, in my case, physical oceanography, somebody who would be a physical oceanographer with a very strong background in physics and mathematics, but somebody who will have participated into innovative training programs together with a colleague working in the law of the sea, a colleague working with in geography of the coastal zone, and a biologist. And having during the whole curricula, during the 2 years, having many special training periods or special training units where those talents, this ability to work together in an interdisciplinary setting, those talents will be fostered and favored and developed.
So can you pinpoint some specific research issues that East Blue projects focus on, or is it a wide range of topics?
Well, I mean, when you think about the problems that the ocean and coast are facing at the moment, I mean, they are really huge. I mean, there is also, of course, the challenge of climate change. So the ocean is warming, it's becoming more acidic. But there is also the increased uses of coastal space by humans. Quite a large proportion of humanity lives near the coast. So all those uses need to be balanced and regulated based on sound scientific data. And so there are challenges of observing the oceans, observing the uses of the sea, and then working to think about the solutions for making our environment better, to cope with crisis, and also to in terms of law of the sea, for example, to have the relevant regulations that will help us take care of the ocean.
East Blue calls itself a school of the sea. And Anne-Marie tells me climate change is not the only issue at play here.
It's also the dramatic loss of biodiversity. And this is related also to the changes in human behavior, like overfishing or the growing importance of infrastructure being installed on the coasts. And we also take into account the new emerging technologies. This is very important with, for example, the growing importance of artificial intelligence at the moment. So our question is, how can artificial intelligence be harnessed and used to help us understand better the ocean and coastal space, and also to help us provide solutions? I think we are very lucky within East Blue to have an environment where people have been interacting from one laboratory to the other for a long time and know each other. I think this is made easier perhaps by being in Brest. When you are in a big city like Paris, there are so many people around that somehow people can meet less. When you are at the end of the world, which is what the place where Brest is called, Land's End, you stick together and you enjoy perhaps more talking with colleagues from other disciplines. This is also fostered by IFREMER, which is an interdisciplinary institute, and in the university, but by IUEM, which is another university interdisciplinary institute. So really there is this long history of getting to know each other.
You're listening to The French Teach, a podcast by Campus France. Studying oceans and seas is a great way to understand the importance of cross-sector projects in climate and climate-related issues. In fact, when you think about it, it goes beyond oceans as such. Water is the main topic here. A source of life and a source of power, water is a political, legal, economic subject, and it's part of our lives, everywhere, all the time. This is why the University of Montpellier in the southeast of France has created a master's simply called Le Master Eau, the Water Masters. And there again, transdisciplinarity is key. Students have common courses, but they also pick their own path in the study of water science, whether it is water resources, coastal water, agricultural water, water and society, water and health contaminants, or water and environmental risks.
I started to study water science in my bachelor's regarding to hydrology in urban context and also Amazonian context. And then it was when I was in my bachelor that I went to France the first time to an exchange program.
This is Ana Carolina Pires. Born and raised in Brazil, she grew up with a passion for France and a long-time dream to come here.
I was first interested by the French, so the language. Since I was a teenager, I'd like to learn French, and my mom said to me, no, you will learn first English and then French. And when I arrived at the university, I searched for all the exchange programs just to have an excuse to start to learn French. And in 2019, I have the opportunity by BREFTech program. So it's a program between France and Brazil for engineering and other technology studies, to go to France with a scholarship from Brazilian government. And then I went to France for the first time to École des Mines d'Alès, so in the south of the France. And then it was for 1 year. And in the end of this year, I had to go back to Brazil, and I was like, okay, I would like to enjoy more the country because there are a lot of things that I couldn't do in this year. And then I planned to come back to France. And in 2022, I went to France for the second time, first as an intern. So I did an internship for 5 or 6 months in the Parisian region, and I applied for the master's in Paris and also in Montpellier. But when I have the answer, I chose Montpellier because I already had the experience in Paris, and it's more expensive and it's bigger, and I think I enjoy more. I like more the south of the France, and then I have no doubt, and I was okay. Let's go one more year in France.
So tell me what you love so much about the south of France.
As a Brazilian, I really like sun, and we don't have a lot of sun as in the south when we are in Paris. So it's the first thing. And then I had friends who lived in the south. So I think it's really important when we are not in our country to have this network. That's why I preferred the south. But I think more about the climate part. And also I was really interested about the schedule of the masters in Montpellier, because I thought it looked really nice, and I was like, okay, I think I will have good classes and good courses here. I have a teacher, a Brazilian teacher, that talked to me and she told me, it's really nice, Montpellier. They are known about the scientific issues and climate issues, and they have really nice research institutes. And I was like, okay, it's a plus, because since I started my master's, I would like to continue in the researcher field.
Located between the Mediterranean coast and the Cévennes Mountains, Montpellier is a sun-drenched city buzzing with an incredibly dynamic student life. With its friendly atmosphere and its lower cost of living than in other major French cities, it does sound particularly welcoming. So much so that it is said that about 25% of the Montpellier population is made up of students, a lot of them international. According to the Shanghai ranking of 2023, the University of Montpellier is among the best in the world in several scientific domains like biotechnology, agricultural and food science, and in ecology last year, the prestigious international ranking system even listed Montpellier at number 2, right behind Oxford University and just above the University of Minnesota at number 3, and another French institution, Paris Sciences et Lettres University, at number 4.
It's a sunny city, so it's nice. We are close to the beach, close to the mountains. I had a unique experience in Montpellier during my master's, and I think maybe it was one of the best periods of my life. The class were fascinating. I really like that we had some field campaigns, so we went out to study. And for me, it's really nice because I didn't have it a lot in Brazil. I also think people were open-minded, and they were available to help me to adapt to the city and this new life. So I had really, really good friends from this period. We talk these days, and nowadays I'm in Brazil, so I invite them to come here to know the country. And I really like this student environment of the city, because I think we always have things to do, people to know and to meet. And in the masters, I met people from different regions of France, but also from other countries like Germany, Senegal, and Morocco. And I think it's really interesting when we are talking about this diversity and also water science and climate change. And the last thing that I really appreciate in the city is the French-Brazilian network, because they have an association from French Brazilians, so from French that already lived in Brazil and love the country, and Brazilians that live in Montpellier. So it's really nice because it's like a part of home.
So can you tell me about how you started your research in Brazil and how you continued it in Montpellier?
So I started for hydrology and urban hydrology specifically, and using remote sensing. And then after I started to do research about the droughts in Amazon regions by articles from journals, media, online media. And I really enjoyed the Amazonian context and to have this social part. So to understand what people are saying about these events that the government don't talk to us and that we don't find in reports and anywhere. And then when I went to Montpellier, I chose for the research masters because in Montpellier we can choose for the professional or the academic one. And we should find a supervisor. And I knew nobody, but one day a teacher was talking about remote sensing and she works with it. And I thought, okay, I will talk with her in the end of the class. And she made a list of a lot of researchers in Montpellier that use remote sense to different fields. And then she arrived at my master supervisor, Marie-Paul Bonnet, and she works with remote sense in Amazonian context. And I was like, okay, that's the research that I was looking for because it's remote sense that I really love and the region that I'd like to work. And then I wrote an mail for her. And we started to get in contact. And she talked to me, okay, we can work together, but in Brasilia. And then I came to Brasilia to finish my internship of the master's, so the last 6 months. And I had the opportunity to went to Amazon twice with her and a group of researchers. Once there, I realized that I really want to work with this, what we can call social hydrology. So to understand water science points, issues by the local community's point of view. So it's what I'm doing now with her. And what I'm preparing to start a PhD soon. I hope so.
So, who are some of the people that you worked with in the Amazon?
The territory, it's a complex territory because we have indigenous or native people. We also have locals. But people who live close to the river and people that live in the floodplains. So they are really, we have this diversity of people. They are all local, but from different origins. We work with teenagers. They have between 15 and 30 years old, and they fight against all the industries in their region. So like soy culture and wood industry and also mining industries. I think it's really brave what they do. And when we are talking about climate change and all the challenges we have nowadays, I think sometimes we don't have hope because we read and we listen all the time bad news. And when I get in contact with them, I still have these emotions, these bad emotions, but I can also find a solution Like, okay, they are here, they are living this situation, and they are fighting against. So I think we can and we have to relate our works as scientific to their fights, and it's what I'm looking for now.
So your research might help them in the future, or is it the other way around?
Yes, I think we are working in an idea of co-construction. So we will help each others together to understand how their knowledge are important, because we already know it. Our knowledge are really, really important to this war, this climate war. And in the other side, I think as scientific, sometimes we have access to places that local communities don't have, unfortunately. So it's a kind of this that I am into, and to use their knowledge, but also to look if they are interested to the technology that I know, like remote sensing, to help them to monitoring the region, their territory.
What would you say is something that you learned during your water science masters in Montpellier that helps you today in your research?
We study about hydrogeology and hydrology systems. So I learned about how the system work to understand this dynamic. And then as I have the understand of the dynamic, I'm able to talk about different groups. So I'm curious to understand how local communities see it, but I'm also able to talk with stakeholders, for example.
So this idea of interdisciplinarity in the masters, being able to look at an issue from several perspectives, it's crucial, right? It makes sense nowadays in your research.
Yes, it makes sense. And also, I think, as I told, we were so we have this diversity of origins in the masters, and I think it's really important because, from a personal point of view, it learned me more than the professional, because I could learn how to talk with different people and to understand how they can see what is happening, and to see also the difference between, I don't know, the France and the German, the Brazil and Morocco. And I think this it's an interdisciplinarity masters in the subject that they propose, but also in the people and the students. This diversity of students, I think it helped a lot for what they propose as interdisciplinarity masters.
Before ending the conversation with Anna Carolina, I couldn't help but ask if, as a lover of the French language, she had learned new expressions in French, especially in the South, where the language is so colorful. And not only had she learned a lot of those, but she gave me the best conclusion to this episode.
You have a lot of expressions of water, like c'est pas la mer à boire. It's not the ocean to drink. So to say that something it's not so complicated, and I think it's well, because we can say it's hard to go away to live in another country, but it's not so complicated. So let's try and let's do it.
The French Teach is a podcast brought to you by Campus France. A big thank you to our guests on this episode for answering our questions: Nadia Maizy of the Transition Institute 1.5, Anne-Marie Tréguier of EastBlue, and Anna Carolina Pires, who studied at the University of Montpellier's Master O. If you're an international student and would like to know more on studying in France, you can find all the information you need on campusfrance.org. That's campusfrance in one word.org. And just so you know, other episodes of The French Teach are available wherever you get your podcasts.